Hello, friends, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to today's live level up conversation. Whether you're joining us in real time or watching us on replay, thank you so much for making the time. Happy Tuesday. Let's dive right in.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Market update. Speed round. Award-winning financial pro. And now, get ready. I present to you Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hello, CrossTech Spider. I already see you on YouTube. Thank you so much for making time. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I see a lot of friends joining us on the different platforms. Definitely jump in, say hello. It's always wonderful to be joining you live here. Hello, friends. I'm Winnie Sun, your host, an award-winning financial pro, a Forbes contributor, and a CNBC Council member. We're streaming here live on many different platforms. So come in, say hello, introduce yourself. Let me know how your week is going so far. And in talking about what's going on so far, let's jump in and see where the market is currently. The Dow is currently down 207 points. In fact, it's been down most of today. Nasdaq is currently up 10, so it is in the green, and the S&P 500 is down 10 as well. Now, unfortunately, U.S. stock market is facing yet again a little bit more challenging day here in 2024 with many of the numbers in the negative. We know that tech stocks in particular, which did really well actually yesterday, are certainly many of them are in the red. The healthcare sector, though, is actually doing pretty well today, and then actually they're one of the shining areas that are doing well in the S&P 500, which is showing just was earlier today showing a modest gain, but currently it is in negative territory. This is sort of a big shift away from what we've been seeing in big tech. Right. There's been a lot of interest in sectors such as healthcare recently, though. And this is according to Quincy Crosby, Chief Global Strategist at LPL Financial. Now, investors, of course, are looking forward to getting some information or at least some more clarity this week. Two big things are happening, including the December Consumer Price Index that's supposed to be announced on Thursday, and then the Producer Price Index, which is supposed to be announced on Friday. Now, these are two really big indicators of where our health is in the United States in terms of inflation, and it hopefully will give us a little bit of a signal of whether the Federal Reserve will be cutting rates in the future, which is really interesting because if we were to rewind just a year ago or 2 years ago, everybody was talking about whether the Federal Reserve would, increase rates, leave them the way they are. But now we're starting to have more and more discussions of decreasing interest rates. So that's a good thing, especially for those of you who've been sitting on the sidelines looking to purchase a new home or hoping to refinance. In fact, I just spoke with a good friend of mine who is in the mortgage industry, and he was saying, yeah, rates have definitely quieted down, come much more favorable levels. In fact, he sent me I think the 30-year fix or 15-year fix for jumbo and conventional loans. Like now it looks like it's in the 6% range. So I think that's good news because not that long ago it was much, much higher than that. And people are really, really unhappy about that. All right. So we have quite a bit of financial news and business news today that I want to share with you. And this comes from many different, what I do is I try to, scope out all the business news that's coming in for the day and pick the headlines that I think that are going to be most relevant and most interesting to you as you go on your day, right? Like this can impact where you work, what you talk to your colleagues about, and of course, things to be looking forward to or thinking about or planning for into the future. Now, this is an article that came from CNBC today, and it's talking about Meta and teens. Now, for those of you who have heard the word Meta, this is now the new parent company for Facebook, which used to be called Facebook, right? So there's a big news coming out about how Meta is going to be putting content restrictions for teenagers on both Instagram and Facebook because the company has been in a lot of hot water for quite some time talking about, like, I have a teen at home, and I don't know if you have a teen or maybe you are a teen, just the amount of content that they're being shown, whether it be on just posts, but a lot of it via video. Well, the company is intending to sort of default teenage users to what they call the most restrictive content settings. These changes are going to be part of Meta's efforts to really make sure that the content that your teen receives is age appropriate. Because up until now, not only has it been very, very addictive, but a lot of content wasn't, isn't, isn't appropriate for teenagers to see, right? In fact, these updates are going to attempt to prevent teenage users from searching specific topics and really encourage them to adjust their Instagram privacy settings as well to make sure that their information is safe. Now, these changes have been a long time coming. In fact, this is a goal of aiming to shield and protect users under the age of 18 from things that really can impact their mental and physical health, right? They want to make sure that users, don't conduct self-harm, things such as like eating disorders, certain things that they shouldn't be buying, shouldn't be looking at, nudity, even things like that. Even if it's shared by somebody that they follow or know, this has to stop. And so Meta is finally putting a stop to that. And it wasn't like they just decided to do this, because in October, a bipartisan group of actually 42 attorney generals filed a lawsuit against Meta, saying that their products actually cause harm to teenagers and their mental health. So we'll see how that goes. I'm curious to see, for those of you who are tuning in, have you seen this in your own families, right? Have you experienced this yourself or seen this on your teen? I will tell you, my teen, he's 14 years old. I see him on Instagram video all day long. And there's only so much you can control. And of course, you want to you want to trust your teen. You want to make sure they have like something that they enjoy. But we do know there's a lot of stuff coming out in the world in the social media world that we just wouldn't want them to be exposed to so soon. So I don't know. I just feel like today's scene is just so much more, there's so much more tech friendly. Even if it's not Meta, it's probably from somewhere else. And don't even get me started about YouTube. I feel like YouTube really needs some sort of protections in terms of protecting our children. I don't think YouTube is doing as good of a job. And like, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Because yeah. Yes, absolutely. Well, Alphaphonics is saying this might be the best Tuesday ever. Well, I'm loving it. Tell us, Alphaphonics, why is this the best Tuesday ever? We'd love to hear. And wonderful to see Cross Fighters, and this is a great week too. Wonderful. All right. Next article I want to share with you. This is one that I found on Verge, and this is talking about the ongoing dispute between ChatGPT and the New York Times. Now, let me just say, I am a fan of both the New York Times and ChatGPT, right? But there's a lawsuit occurring right now about the fair use of AI technology and copyright laws, because AI has challenged that, the New York Times. Okay, so here's what's happening. The New York Times claims that ChatGPT, the AI tool, has copied Times articles verbatim, like absolutely just basically copy them, put them right in the tool. And they're saying that, this is not okay. And ChatGPT is saying, well, the way that you use our tool to find this information, well, you kind of manipulated the prompts to include regurgitated excerpts. And so ChatGPT is saying, well, but, with the New York Times' copyright lawsuit, this is without merit. They're saying that, of course, they want to be a partner with media outlets, but, there's no way for them to create a tool if they're not able to collect this data from reputable sources. And one of these reputable sources is going to be platforms such as the New York Times. So OpenAI is contending that their models typically don't basically quote, completely quote or copy the information coming from outlets such as the New York Times, but they're saying that, the New York Times did very specific instructions to their model to specifically ask for the regurgitation of content and they were very specific in how they picked their examples. So now OpenAI is saying they're working very diligently trying to reduce regurgitation from its language models, but it also notes that the New York Times really declined to share examples before they even filed the lawsuit. So they're like, like let's try to work together before suing each other. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think that, I will say if we want AI to continue to be tools that will benefit us in the workplace, at schools, in terms of development, right? It's unfortunately the hard facts are that they need to be able to collect reputable data from some source, right? It used to be like the encyclopedia or the dictionary, but let's face it, by the time it reaches into an encyclopedia, it's often already outdated. So the internet provided more real time information and fact sharing and whatnot. So I don't know. I guess they'll have to come together. I think this is going to be an ongoing problem, but like whether it be the New York Times or CNBC or NBC or ABC, there's got to be some way where everybody's fairly compensated for the work that they do, and we can come together and share this vast amount of data, right? And human knowledge so that we can learn and we can solve problems and really use AI to its full capacity as it continues to evolve. But I would really like to see your thoughts of that, how do you feel about this suit that the New York Times has filed against OpenAI of saying that, well, you're using our content verbatim? That's probably not okay. Does that mean they can use the content, but maybe they need to change all the wording? So the Times lead counsel is saying that this is something that they use the New York Times' work and others to build ChatGPT, which doesn't constitute fair use according to the New York Times' perspective. So we'll follow that story and see how that folds. But I think that's a really fascinating one. And you can see it from both sides because we certainly know that traditional media, especially like newspapers, right, are really a dinosaur and they've been struggling for a long time. In fact, I've worked with a lot of award-winning, reputable journalists who are amazing at their craft, but they're being let go, and a lot of their jobs and roles that they've done, a lot of that's been replaced by technology and just younger reporters, younger employees. So it'll be interesting to see how that case unfolds. So, how can this technology continue to evolve, but people are valued and fairly compensated for the work that they do? So we'll see how that goes. All right, speaking of a news story, next one I want to share with you because I think this is a big one. Now, regardless of what state you're at or where you're at joining me live today, I think this is one we really want to pay attention to. Now, this is being reported from the San Francisco Standard. Okay, it's talking about how State Farm, Allstate, many insurance companies here in California, in fact, State Farm is the largest private insurer. They're planning to raise auto and home insurance rates by over 20%. Yeah. And that's not even the highest. I think they were saying is close to 30%. But this is going to affect over 5 million Californians. And why it's important for you to listen to this, even if you're not in California, is because they are saying a lot of these costs or increase in homeowners insurance, for example, is due to wildfire risks and construction costs. Though, because of climate change, right, being a big factor, then things are costing a lot more, which means although certain areas of inflation have quieted down, so we're looking at like year over year inflation of just over 3%, which is a good thing, right? Given like sky high inflation we've had for the last few years, is improved. But the cost of your home, your auto, and other types of insurance is now gone up close to 20 plus percent. That's substantial for the average family. So insurance companies have argued that this increased liability has been due to like inflation, climate change risks, and really like an archaic regulatory system. But here in California, Governor Gavin Newsom says that he's going to be talking to insurance commissioner Ricardo Lara about finding ways to update insurance rules so that they can sort of preserve accessibility. Because what you don't want is to price people out like they just won't even buy it because it's so expensive. So they decide to be without necessary insurance and having some natural disaster occur. And then what happens then? The taxpayer then fronts the bill. And it's just not a good thing. So they're saying that more and more Californians are relying on something called the California Fair Plan, which is like, from what I can see, it's insurance um, issued by, through this California plan system. It's less expensive. It's for certain neighborhoods only, certain demographics, not for everybody. But nonetheless, this is a big problem. So the average rate increases, get this, for Allstate is 30%. And for Geico, we're talking over 12% as well. These have been approved already, and they're going to impact nearly 3 million drivers already. So I think we can all agree that these sort of risks or climate change issues are not contained just in the state of California. So this is going to roll out probably for many states, maybe even in other countries as well. For those of you who are watching, so something to really pay attention to. Hopefully, they can figure out a solution and not increase it so much because 20% is huge. Especially, we all know that car and owners insurance was never cheap to begin with, right? It was never cheap to begin with. So hopefully they figure it out. That would be great. But most important, let's take a look at where the market is currently. The Dow now is down 187 points, so it's improved slightly, but still very much in the negative. Nasdaq is up slightly too. It's up 14 now, up a little bit more than when we started. And then the S&P 500 is currently down 9.7, So we still have got over an hour left for the markets, but I mean, I would guess that probably the Dow is going to close negative unless something really big happens and we see some news. But nonetheless, we'll continue to keep you updated. Lots of information. It's a new year, right? And this is a year I hope you continue to work towards financial independence, whatever that looks like for you. So thank you so much, my friends, for tuning in and being just amazing and being here and supporting the show. I appreciate you so much for doing so. Big shout out to Joshua for sharing this show. I really appreciate seeing it on social media. If you value this video, remember to smash that like button and hit subscribe so you can keep up with the latest updates. And for full episodes of Level Up with Winnie Sun, tune in on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Samsung, LG, Roku, and many other streaming platforms. And when sharing this episode online, make sure to tag at Winnie Sun so I can express my thanks for a future episode. And you can also check out, of course, Yes Factor with Winnie Sun on Apple Podcasts and the LinkedIn Podcast Network. With that, see you very soon. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you again later this week. Bye-bye now.